one side or the other. Is Washington trying to control trucking? According to most, it seems like the government would rather we all work for mega carriers instead of staying independent. So why else would they keep changing the rules for us owner operators? Well, that's a good question, don't you think? Well, that's one of the questions we're going to dive into tonight. What do you think? It's going to be a great show. Howdy ho, truck lovers, truth seekers, and incredible visionaries alike. Broadcasting from inside the Truckin City Mobile Central Command Station, parked in the lovely city of Hebron, Ohio. Boss Man here, having more fun than any news show is allowed to have on YouTube. Today, we dive headfirst into the legislative crystal ball presented by the Truckload Carriers Association, laying out predictions on key federal trucking issues under the incoming Trump administration. Yeah, you're probably thinking, oh, another one of those shows. No, sir, not another one of those shows. This is a necessary show. This is the best call-in style news show ever invented for trucking. Invented for truckers, by truckers, and you have tuned in to a host who is single-handedly pointing out, yes, there is and always is a way to make trucking great again. From the fight over independent contractors to the challenges of environmental regulations and the ever-pressing need for truck parking, we've got it all right here in one news channel. And it's right here for you to get involved and sound off about your opinions. But this isn't just a conversation. This is a movement. This is given you by me with a skill given me by God himself to restore your faith in broadcast talent. We're tired of the Main Street media giving their spin on what you should think and how you should do it. And we're putting the real issues of trucking front and center. The trucking community is the lifeblood of the economy, and it has been sidelined for far too long. But not on this show. This show is about making your voice heard and reminding the world that truckers don't just move America. We are America. So buckle up, folks, because today we're going to dissect one of these articles and give you an opportunity to lay out clearly what you see is the path in front of you and the best way forward to attack the front lines with a vengeance and make your verse be heard.
Shall we begin?
From Truckin City Central Command, you are on the front lines. Truckin News.
The semi-truck driver accused of causing that deadly crash on Highway 285 this week now under arrest.
Cutting edge opinion, and we will make trucking great again. Built for truckers.
You should be hauling that freight based on what works for you.
By truckers.
Remember, get them done.
Featuring.
I think trucking is a very good career.
And I am gonna beat them.
I'm gonna beat him too.
We don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
Remember, truckers are people too.
Hosted by the El Rushbo of Truckin News, Boss Man.
Call our studio line at 860-785-3547. 860-785-3547. That is your way to get in touch with us. Sound off on how you think the trucking industry should, could, and would change if only your voice could be heard. If you have ideas for future stories and want to be involved, give us a line at that's Truckin News at Outlook.com. That's Truckin News at Outlook.com. You know, staying on the sidelines is not, historically, not a healthy way of looking at life. Getting involved is the way in which you make changes. Subscribe today, become a member of what I call the United States of Truckin, join our panel and the audience as a whole with our over 150 years worth of experience, destined to bring this talk show to an ever-growing audience. We want you to get involved. So definitely go down below, like this program, look for more, become a subscriber, and before the end of the show, certainly give a check out to each and every panelist you see here. They are just as dedicated to the cause as I am. We want to make trucking great again. I want to start tonight off with a simple idea and a simple question. Okay? Tonight, I'm a little bit troubled with just some of the things that appear in this article brought to us by the TCA. So let's get into it. Now, my friends, let's talk about two issues. Every trucker listening right now has either cursed at or dealt with firsthand. These aren't just minor issues. These are symptoms of a deeper sickness in the way our government approaches trucking. And I'm talking about parking and those lovely little contraptions that they want to stick on every truck known as speed limiters. Now, before you say anything and before you start launching into what your thoughts of what the government can and cannot do, well, no, let me just enlighten you, okay? These aren't just possibilities. And if they weren't in the media, it wouldn't actually be thought about. So first, let's dive into the most important issue, parking. The editor of this article, which, by the way, will be linked below in the description. It isn't currently, but it will after the show's done. The editor of this piece that we're referencing from the Truckload Carriers Association points out something that's almost laughable. If it weren't tragic, there is no dedicated funding for truck parking in the $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill. My friends, they'll throw billions of dollars at green projects, rail systems that most Americans probably will never even use and really realize where the money came from for it. But when it comes to a safe spot for you and me to park our rigs, we get some rest. Nothing, nada. Okay, they're throwing money around and they're talking a big game, but it's not what you think it is. Okay? And don't you love how Congress finally noticed this problem and came up with the Truck Parking Safety Improvement Act? A bipartisan effort, no less. But here's the kicker. They want $755 million over 3 years. Folks, that's a drop in the bucket compared to the waste in Washington. Why is it we're always asking for the bare minimum? But that's not the whole thing. Then there's speed limiters. The same editor of this article highlighted that during the Biden administration, speed limiter mandates were on the table. Rules that would regulate how fast we can go. Now, I'm no stranger to safety, and let's be honest here, speed limiters aren't about safety. They're about control. They're about Washington deciding how you run your truck. And here's the problem. How many times have we seen a limited truck stuck trying to pass another on a hill, clogging up traffic, making everybody angry? And many people have pointed out on YouTube, and I'm going to ask the same question. Is that really safer? Or does this just create more chaos? And if you look back on some of my videos, you can see some really powerful opinions, not by me, but by the very people that watch my videos. Don't just take my word for it. I am not the holy grail in opinions on speed limiters. Go watch some other news, not news channels, but YouTube bloggers. I'm not the only one that feels the way I do. Guys, the government's never been in a cab with you, okay? They don't know what it's like to need those few extra miles per hour to get past a truck, out of a tight squeeze, past a tight schedule, or avoid bad weather. This isn't about improving safety. It's about making us more compliant. And here's the thing. With the new administration coming in, maybe these mandates get delayed. Maybe they disappear. Maybe they get diluted. What do you guys think Sean Duffy is capable of? That's the key question. And if so, how long? I think this fight is far from over. We do need parking, and we need sensible legislation put in place to let us have the control over how we run our trucks. Tell me in the comments if you believe with that very philosophy. I want to hear from you. So let's connect the dots here, folks. Truck parking and speed limiters are just two examples of a system that won't hear us. They don't respect us, and frankly, they don't understand us. So my question to you is, what do you think these rules and lack of funding say about this country's values, guys? Let's turn this around and let's make what they think about and what they do to help us be front and center. Let's take this discussion to the front lines. I want to hear your thoughts in the audience. I want to hear what you think about this discussion. And if you're froggy enough and want to get involved, call our studio line, 860-785-3547. 860-785-3547. We are all about opinions and solutions. What say you, my friend?
Sorry about that. I had to unmute myself. I'm the Grumpy Old Trucker, and I've got this YouTube channel, the Grumpy Old Trucker. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. Pretty much every social media platform you can find, I'm here. And, you know,
Don't let him josh you. He's growing like wildfire on YouTube. Give that man a round of applause. So what do you think? What do you think about the TCA's version of what's going on with legislative matters, especially like I brought up in the article?
you know, there's constant talking, constantly. And as I've said in other past videos, I want to see it happen. You can talk, you can put it on paper and mention it with paper. I want to see them get out here and do it and show us that they're going to do this, because otherwise they're just blowing smoke up everybody's rear ends, you know, and it just ain't right.
Yep.
And
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, they talk a good talk and they walk a good walk, but you know, when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, you know, as the one point that the editor in his journal made, you know, they have not really directly done anything with the funding associated with that 1.2 trillion. I mean, they point money in all kind of different directions, and then when they realize where they screwed up, oh, we're gonna invent this commission and we're gonna make it look good. Okay, thanks for the help, Jack. You know, I mean, that's quite atrocious, honestly. Anyway, let's move on. We'll get back to you in just a minute, Grump. Thank you for joining us. What say you, my friend?
Oh, how's it going?
Give us your thoughts on the legislative agenda. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, Thumper here, and come here, Bo. I'm getting him in the picture. There we go. There's Bo. We got YouTube and TikTok. Do motivational stuff and try to spread the awareness of mental health is kind of the whole purpose of my channels here. But anyways, back to what we were talking about. My trucks aren't governed. They never will be governed unless driver abuses it. Then yeah, they're gonna get governed.
But do you think it's do you tend to agree with my take on this whole issue? Is it really about safety, or do you think it's more about control, as I said in my opening thoughts?
Neither.
Okay, what do you think it's about?
Fuel efficiency, saving money. I mean, that's what it is. The faster you go, the more money or the more fuel you're going to burn, which equals the more money you're going to spend.
What do you say to those on the opposite side of the argument that say the slower you go and the more moderately your driving habits are, the more money you make by virtue of spending less money? If fuel efficiency is the way to go to raise your profit and lower your bottom line, their argument is that what you just said is wrong. What do you say to those people?
Do the math, try it out once. I'll admit it. I mean, I've done it where I've hauled stuff with my truck and done the speed limit, and then there's times where I've hauled it and same weight and everything, go sit there and drive down the road and you do 55 to 65, and yeah, you gain like 2 or 3 miles per gallon, which, you know, in a semi, for how many miles we traveled, that all adds up.
True that. True that.
I mean,
I mean, the argument I raised, the argument I raised during my open was that there are times when the control over your speed needs to be in your hands. You need to be able to dictate if you need to do a 72-mile-an-hour speed limit for 4 miles to get past that 65 truck, or if, you know, slowing down and watching where you're going, that should be in your hands, not the hands of some government official who can't see you driving into that 5-foot snowbank.
No, and I've actually talked to a couple of mega carriers. I asked them, like, why do you govern your trucks? Well, because if you're doing 65 or 68 or whatever they got it governed at, they're like, well, we're saving money going down the road because we're getting better fuel mileage. That was their reasoning, and that's talking to a couple of mega carriers. I'm not going to say who they are or anything like that, but I've asked that question. You know, I've been fortunate enough in my career. I've never had to be in a regulated truck, so I don't know what it's like, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. A lot of people have had different experiences, and your experience, your opinion, I respect both of them. And let's see if others in the audience feel the same way. So we'll be back with you in just a moment. You are one of many that have similar opinions. Let me ask you, what say you about this thing? Is it really safety, or in your mind, is it about control? What do you think?
I'm Larry the Trucker. I'm a new cattle hauler. You can find me on TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook.
Welcome to the show.
Here's the thing. I've done both. I've done ungoverned trucks. I've done governed trucks. Governed trucks is just going to make it more clustered.
Yep.
It's going to cause more chaos than it will fix it.
Right.
Because right now, you take, say, I'm not going to throw out a trucking company name, but you take a 65-mile-an-hour truck and you got a 66-mile-an-hour truck trying to pass them.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think the roads are going to clear up any quicker? No,
they're not. Exactly. It really puts you and everybody else, I think, being limited or less than, you know, an ideal situation. I think it really puts everybody in danger. It's not just you, and I'm not just talking about the driver. And those in the audience, comment if you agree. It's not just the person operating the truck. It's the general public that motors around you that I think these bureaucrats are not really thinking about. You know, and speed limiters isn't the only thing. This article I'm going to highlight and link below has 6 different agenda items in which they talk about is going to be decided and really up for debate during the next administration. The first one they talk about is just independent contractor status. Number 2 is environmental regulations. Number 3 is the infrastructure bill and the way it's being disseminated. Number 4 is parking. Number 5 is speed limiters. And the last one is lawsuit abuse, followed by a little bit of information on their consideration of raising size and weight distribution limits and changing how all that comes from. So it's an interesting read. I'll link it below. I encourage you to take a moment, look at what's being said in that article, because I really do think it's going to open people's eyes. Because you know what? I think this incoming administration is really going to look at things different, and I'd be interested to see their take on exactly what that looks like. Be back with you in a minute, Larry. I want to bring up somebody who has probably a very independent view of this whole thing. So introduce yourself and tell me, what do you think about the idea of limiting speed? Give us the Canadian perspective and tell me what you think of the idea. Is it safety or is it control? What say you, Poet?
Good day. My name is Poet. 54 years driver. Live up in Canada. I've done tons of miles off-road, tons of miles in the 49 continental states. As far as speed limiters is concerned, the province of Ontario instituted speed limiters to 65 mile an hour.
Right.
Within the first year, they had a 44% increase in accidents.
Interesting. Did not know that.
On
Good fact to know.
On account of the elephant race.
The elephant race? That's an interesting way of putting it. Okay.
Well,
I could just picture that.
Yeah. As far as the truck parking is concerned, one of our provinces spent $7.9 million upgrading a rest area.
Wow.
They added 5 car parking spots and 3 truck spots.
Wow. Wow.
That was it.
Yeah.
So,
Priorities went to the greater masses of the public. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you guys to stick around. I'm not done yet. I will be back with you in a moment, Poet. I just want to make sure that you and the audience understand an important fact. Subscribing to this channel is utterly important. We are starting a movement to make your voice be heard, make your opinions known, and really hash through what the average trucker thinks about common and very important issues today. And I'm also starting today a different part of the show that we've never done before today. So I'm going to ask you guys to stick around and be part of the after show. The after show is something that I want you in the audience to actually become a part of. And that's the show that goes on after the show goes off the air. We're going to keep live streaming after the show ends and allow you to participate in what we do after the show. So I encourage you, stick around, become a subscriber, get involved. Don't sit on the sidelines. News doesn't just go away. It becomes the word of the day. And it's something you need to be involved in. And we encourage you to actively participate in everything that goes on in your lives and in the lives of others around you. So let's get this conversation rocking and rolling. Let's bring up a few ideas and a few questions and see what those in the audience think. Because right now I've highlighted everybody but the audience. So give me a couple of seconds, guys. Let me welcome in audience comments and encourage you guys in the audience. If you want to call in and be heard, 860-785-3547. Once again, 860-785-3547. Christina in the audience. Oh, you guys in Ohio, that's awesome. Yes, we travel around, baby. I also want to take a moment to recognize some really good contributors from last week's show. And I hope he's in the audience tonight. And if you are, God bless. Thank you for what you did last week. Chief Freight Hauler. He was the one person that gave us the most commentary and the most insight last week. Thank you for doing that. Guys, keep up the good work. If you're in the audience, you have an opinion, sound off. We want to know about it. I will recognize each week somebody who has the most comments and the best comments. 7 C's in the house. Over under 30.5 seconds when you mentioned Mother Trucker was on last show. Any takers? Not sure what you're referring to, but good point to mention. We did have Mother Trucker on last week's show, which goes to prove word is getting out. You never know who you're going to see on this show. So it's a good thing to keep in mind, pay attention. So don't know what you're referring to about over under 30.5 seconds. That may be our discussion on speed limiters. You're welcome to clarify at 7 C's. I don't mean to butcher you, but L.A. Ashada, whatever that means. Hello, welcome to the channel. I'm lousy with names, so you'll all have to forgive me in advance. Am I the only one here? No, obviously you're one of many, my friends. Welcome. Become a subscriber. Sit down. You will enjoy the conversation. Fake trucking in the background. Ice fishing season. Poking at you,
I wish
Thumper.
it was. I wish it was, man.
I hear you. Poet giving some responses. God bless you guys. Driving with John in the background. What's happening, boss man? Hope everything's going well. Be watching behind the scenes, letting you know what I think in the comments. Thank you. And reminding everybody to please subscribe. Thank you for your contribution on that. Seems like we're caught up on comments. So, guys, let me ask you. I mean, when it comes down to it, what is it you think about that 1.2 trillion that I mentioned earlier? Could they actually do something smarter with that money? Or are they deliberately ignoring us on the front lines? What do you think, guys? Anyone, anytime in the audience, call us up. What say you? Grumpy, what's your thoughts? You think they're deliberately ignoring us?
They always ignore us drivers. I mean, we're the ones that move America. Yet when we speak, we have to literally almost shut the whole country down for them to understand. And then they're like, no, we're going to have the guards after you, blah, blah, blah. And all that. No. They're going to have to start listening to us drivers. We have stuff to say, and we say it loudly.
Yes, we do. And I think everything we say needs to be paid attention to on a more personal level because, you know, how many times did they put through legislation? Now, and I know there's naysayers that are going to be on the opposite end of this argument, but how many times have they put through legislation that's just sat there for that 45-minute comment period or 45-day comment period? They've received, I remember a couple of them where they received 15,000 comments. And even though a majority of the comments went against what they were trying to pass, they passed it anyway. It's like we didn't even say a word. And then a short time later, what do? They come back with the next rulemaking. They give that same 45-day comment period. Only 150 people comment on it. I forget what the rule was. But then they come back with the argument, well, no one ever says a word. No one really cares. Probably because it was a BS rule. But, you know, you get my point? Doesn't matter. I think people stayed away from commenting because they knew, well, what good does it do? They're going to do what they want. Money talks, BS walks. And I think that's what the average person thinks. Lo and behold, it's the one thing I'm trying to change. Don't tell anybody. I mean, come on now. I mean, $1.2 trillion. They earmarked 755, but according to this editor, none of it was spent for that. I mean, isn't that freaking incredible? Especially if it's supposed to be for truck parking, which, what, newsflash, we're a year later, it ain't no different. There's still problems parking. Where's the money? In that old Wendy's commercial. Where's the beef? Come on now. Same thing.
It's going in their pocket.
It's going in somebody's pocket. What do you think in the audience? Do you think it's going in somebody's pocket? Are you hearing, where's the beef? I want to know. Driveline comments. By the way, good evening, Driveline. Great videos. Been following you recently. Glad to have you. Great. Part of the trucking show again. Make freight great again, he says. Make America freight again. Good comment. I like that. Welcome to the show. Good guy to follow, by the way, Driveline. He's got some really, really funny vlogs. You know, but again, I mean, more to my point. I mean, do you think the government really understands our lifestyle? Do you think that they're really trying to grab it? I mean, I'm asking the question because right now we're dealing with a Biden administration. But things are going to change after January. So my question is, do you think they're actually understanding us, or do you think they're just throwing crumbs our way?
Crumbs. That's what I think.
They're saying what we want to hear, so we will quit talking or quit yelling at them and whatnot, and they're gonna be like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, just like the normal government says on about anything. We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and they're actually not gonna they're not gonna do it.
Right.
I mean, that's just how it is. That's how it's been for the last how many years? I mean, that's just how it is. We literally have no voice. I'm trying to think of how to put it, but they say stuff that we want to hear, but they're gonna do what they want to do.
Okay.
There,
way
there's
to-
a certain, there's a
Yeah.
certain
Actions
word for it. I
speak
can't think of
louder.
it.
Actions, yes. Very good point. Actions do speak louder than words. Now, I mean, when we put all this into perspective, okay, again, I mentioned the incoming administration. I am not, don't misunderstand me, I don't turn this channel into a political channel, but we can't ignore what's in front of us, okay? We can't ignore that there's going to be a change. We can't ignore that there's going to be a different administration. So putting politics aside, be that what it is, what do you think what we just talked about equates now, knowing that an administration change is going to take place? Do you think it's no longer going to be a crumbs issue, or do you actually anticipate somebody really giving a flying beep? What do you think?
Prove it to me. If you actually give a flying crap, prove it to me. If we get a new administration in, which we are, and everything else, and if you're gonna sit here and tell me, oh, we're gonna make your roads better, we're gonna give you parking spaces, we're gonna give you whatever to make your life better, don't talk about it, prove it.
Amen to that.
That's all that's all I got to say about it.
Oh,
I
Well, you
don't
know,
wanna get too fired up.
Speaking of roads, I mean, I've noticed that a lot of, toll roads seem to be getting a lot of attention. I know they make their own money, but, they don't make that kind of money. So, I mean, am I not seeing something, a trend here that's going on with maybe the toll roads have kind of gotten some money to build up because they know they're going to be making revenue from that? And it's like, oh, US this won't need it right now. We'll just do better with the toll road and fix it. That's what it's seeming like to me. But what do I know?
Well, newsflash, Grumpy. Have you paid a toll recently? Have you seen how these toll rates have gone up?
I know.
I mean, that ain't because of the government. That's toll roads are mostly privately funded, so I mean they're raking in the dough, baby. No wonder they can make improvements.
Most of your toll roads use interstates. Well, interstates are owned by the government. Therefore,
most of the toll roads, I didn't say all, I said most of the toll roads are privately funded because they rake it in right there where you pass under that Easy Pass monitor. I mean, that's $12 or $13 or whatever, whatever the fee is, so yeah, they do receive government funding because they have to maintain the infrastructure, but a majority of what they do with that, money that they collect for tolls is directly related to the services that they provide while you're using that freeway. So, like for example, when you go into the rest areas, those rest areas are funded mostly from those tolls. The restaurants pay their leases and all that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, contorting the issue, but all that stuff you see around you, the availability of parking for that. I mean, that's mostly, funded for that. Some of the government funding takes care of the main stuff, but that stuff ain't cheap. But when you put into the fact that there's $755 million floating around somewhere for infrastructure for trucking, where did it go? I don't see it. That's what the average trucker thinks.
It's still in the cloud.
You said there's 700 and what?
755 million.
Okay, I'm gonna break something down here. 755 million. That sounds like a lot, correct?
Oh, it does. Yeah, on the surface it does. Yeah.
Well, how many roads, how many trucks, how many of this, how many of that? If you want to sit down and break all that stuff down, I'm just throwing numbers off the top of my head, and I'm sure if Midlife's watching, he could probably figure it out.
Oh, and here's another fact you need. No, Thumper. Here's another fact you need, because I just remember reading what I read. I just checked back on what I said. They want $755 million over 3 years. It's not just all at once. It's over 3 years. So,
well,
if that makes a difference in what you're about to say.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. But if you sit down and break it down to how many trucks are on the road, how many parking spots, everything else, that comes out to be like, say, $2 a truck. if that,
Low
maybe
number, but
50
okay.
cents a
Yep.
truck.
Yep.
So that $750 million ain't shit. Pardon my language,
Well,
but it's nothing.
true.
It ain't gonna do nothing.
We're truckers. I think we can forgive you. Noticing
It-
John's
it's-
comment earlier, I want to thank our co-host behind the scenes saying that one of our panelists and everybody as a whole want to help my channel grow to 500 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you're watching, if you want to join a movement, follow this man's instructions. He's a smart guy. That's why I have him on my show as a co-host. Thank you for opining on that one, John. I appreciate that. He also goes on to Driveline, adds Sean Duffy isn't a bad guy, but he's part of the machine and he'll work to make all the moving parts of the machine happy long before they'll give any meaningful attention to issues that matter. I don't really know enough about the man. If you watch my video, I gave some because I launched a video not long ago on the whole thing, currently trending, in fact. I gave some cursory information, but I tend to believe, like you, Driveline, anyone in a place new, such as Pete was when he started, Biden was when he started, everybody, I give them a little bit of rope to hang themselves with. And as long as they don't use it, they're good in my book. So I'll always give everybody a few inches. But good point. I appreciate you contributing to that. All right. I would like each person to say what they would like changed with the new administration. Reference to trucking. Good question. Grumpy, you first. What do you think? New administration, what's the first thing you'd like addressed?
Quit trying to push everything down our throats and change this and change that. Fix this, fix that. That's what I'd like to see.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I knew you'd go there. Good answer, though. Poet, what about you? If you had control over a new administration and had choice, similar to what John says in the comments below, what would you say?
I would say to make sure that the hours of service are increased, for one, in the U.S.
Okay.
to fall in line with the Canadian hours.
Okay.
I'm allowed 13 driving, 1 hour on duty for a total of 14.
Specifics we can go over later. You make a good point, though. I've said hours and flexibility are something that's been a long time ignored. What say you, John? Thumper? What say you?
Mine is going to be completely different from everybody because it's an issue I run into a lot. Make all states the same overweight weights. Like in North Dakota, I could be 105.5. In Nebraska, I can only be 93,000. You know how big of a pain in the butt that is? I caught myself. It's a big pain in the butt.
I'll get
for
to you
me
in a
when
minute.
I go.
I'll get to you in a minute, Larry. I haven't forgotten you. Size and weight is one of those things, Thumper, that is discussed in this article. I'm reading and I'm quoting. Historically, Congress has consistently opposed raising national semi-truck size and weight limits due to worries about public safety and damage to the infrastructure. In 2015, they voted on a bipartisan basis to maintain the current federal limits. However, recently in the 118th Congress, Dusty Johnson introduced multiple bills that had language increasing size and weight limits, such as the MOVE Act. Now, that is something I think, according to what's in this legislation, they're going to revisit. And it's funny you mentioned that because that would then become a federal thing rather than a state by state. Now, currently, states have limits that differ state to state. But I think, to match what you say, it should be a federal thing.
Yes, and that's what it should be, because in South Dakota, if you got the axles underneath your truck and trailer, you could haul whatever you want. Yeah. North Dakota, it's 105.5. Minnesota, 80,000. That's it.
Right.
80,000 pounds on interstate. If you're over 80,000, which I'm, with my overweight permit, I'm rated for 98,000, but I have to be on 2-lane. You know how big of a pain in the butt it is for me to be on interstate North Dakota at 97,000 pounds, and I have to sit there and add an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours to my trip because I can't stay on interstate. I have to go on a 2-lane.
Right.
It's just it's a headache.
It
It really is.
It can be really frustrating. Larry, what about
Yep.
you? What's your answer to John's question? Let me put it back up. And
I have two parts to this. I'll get to John's question in a minute.
uh-huh.
But everyone's talking about the new administration coming in. You realize it's going to be a while before they ever get to anything in the industry on our side.
So your contention is that there's not going to be any immediate result whatsoever.
Maybe a fuel drop, maybe. Price of fuel goes down. But
besides that, there could be some other changes put into place that may immediately affect us. You don't know that.
No, I don't know that. Just my opinion. I don't feel that will be the top priority in this new administration's thing coming in. Just like it's been this way every election. I mean, everyone's all excited, and yet at the same time, when's our break going to happen?
Well, you never know, because I think just recalling Trump's immediate first month in office, he made certain executive orders known public and signed them into law. And those things, had immediate effects. People noticed stuff immediately. It might not have directly related to us, but the power of the presidency, especially with a majority of Congress and Senate, does have some sort of pull and can get things done change-wise that nobody with maybe one of three, judicial branches or government branches may only have power. They may have limited power. So this may be a little different. I don't know. I'm not a government expert. Lord knows I'm far from it. But I'm just saying, if you had the power and you had the control over what you would like changed about trucking, what would you say your first choice would be?
Stricter training regimens.
Training. I like that answer.
Be stricter about it.
I love that answer. I think that is right on key, because that is something I think personally is sorely lacking. I think we triggered somebody. I think we triggered somebody. So let's hear what the man from the North 2.0 has to say. That reefer guy is in the house. Boom. And well, dude, if you're going to join the show, stay on. Don't ghost me like that. I was trying to be suave about introducing him, and he ducked me. Shame on you, Faith. Shame on you.
Trying to be like a woman, just give you a tease.
Yeah. Speaking of teases, we were gonna have Fate Truckin on, but I booted him. No, I'm joking. Boom, there he is. How did I trigger you, my man? How did I trigger you? Let us have it.
I don't even know where to begin.
Let me
This
count
is gonna
the
be
way.
good.
Oh yeah. Let me have it, man. Let me have it. Seriously, what do you think? With John's question, what would you say would be the first thing? And do you even think that's even a topic of discussion and we need to have? What do you think?
Nope. I mean,
No?
I brought this up the other day. If you've been in trucking for 8 to 10 years, trucking wasn't good the last time the president-elect was in office. I don't know why it would be any better this time around. Listen, trucking is like a pendulum. It swings up, it swings down. We're going to have really good times, and we're going to have very bad times. That's trucking. I mean,
Shameless plug. Well, I mean, let's take the administration out of the argument for just a minute. Okay? The actual, Republican versus Democrat, the whole liberal versus conservative. Let's take all that out of the argument. Every 4 years we have a change, and every 4 years we have an opportunity for a reset. This is no different. So we have an opportunity to put a focus on something different than the last 4 years. So what are your thoughts there?
So what what I hope they don't stop, which, you know, if you take politics out of it, right? Like you just said, take politics out of it. So what I'm about to say, you can easily attack with like hidden money and agendas places, right? But over the last couple of years, like parking's become more readily available to truck drivers. Parking is a huge issue in this industry.
It is.
And there is more and more truck parking becoming available, that whether it's on the state or like a local municipality is building facilities for us to park in. I hope that doesn't stop. That's a good thing. Fuel,
good point.
let's be honest. Fuel has come down a lot. Is it where it was?
Yes.
Yes. We're not seeing these huge increases and these huge decreases. It's staying pretty freaking level right now.
Yes, I agree.
You know, it's actually not as volatile as regular gasoline. When I see gasoline prices,
yes,
you know, what I like to see that get a little bit better. Yeah, but in reality, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I mean, the overall tone I'm trying to take on tonight's show is not a Republican versus Democrat. It's not a political tone. It's not an administrative thing. It's just simply the fact that a Truckload Carrier Association article pointed out 6 different things. Now, if you're not familiar, I'm going to do a quick recap because I want to highlight and make sure that we understand the tone of this conversation. The things that were on the agenda included the independent contractor status argument. It's hopefully going to be revisited. Environmental regulations. Then also they're going to talk about infrastructure and how it's been applied. Truck parking, speed limiters, lawsuits, and size and weight restrictions. Those are the things that Truckload Carrier Association feels like should, could, and would be visited differently than in the past administration. That's what they point out in the article now. I'm taking the administration part out of the argument, and I'm just simply bringing it out to, is that necessarily the right order and what matters to you in the audience? Go ahead, Faye.
So I got a conspiracy theory here.
What's that?
We all would like to maybe haul more weight if like our truck is set up to haul more weight, right? Like if we have proper brakes, everything works out and we can haul. I used to run heavy haul trash. I had permits that I could be 120,000 pounds, right? And that was in Minnesota going into Wisconsin. Why would they want to increase the overall weight that is allowed on federal highways? Stop and think about that for a minute, because it goes to conversations that we've had on these live shows before. What type of trucks can be put on the road that actually right now are able to be over 80,000 pounds? What type of truck?
But remember what I said, the article opined on, and what I thought was an important conversation, and others may think differently, is the difference to whether or not states have control versus whether the federal government control. I think that's what the editor was keying in on and didn't really directly say. But the way that article was worded, pointing out the 2 different laws that were, between 2015 and now, I think that was the direction he would want to go in. So, I mean, Fate, what do you think about the idea of turning over control to the federal government instead of allowing each state to set it differently? Do you think that's a safer move, bad move? What do you think?
So that goes against my ideology. I believe states, so to answer your question, no, I think a state has a right to impose whatever law they want, and you either abide by it or you don't. But then you also run into the issue that all the regulations that I have on me as a commercial vehicle driver, that's all federally regulated. So on top of my license, my state issues my license.
I'm curious why Driveline leaves the comment he did. And I'm not picking on you, Driveline, but I'm curious about your take on this. So I encourage you to take advantage of the Yeah, of the number, 860-785-3547. He says many of us trucks don't need parking infrastructure like a lot of us do. So it's really unfair to try to break it down by truck. And I think that was in relation to your point earlier, Thumper. So I'm not really sure what he's referring to. I mean, because not everybody has a shipper arranged or receiver arranged parking spot. So clearly parking is a problem. If you want to call in and maybe break that down further, I welcome it. It just, I don't know what you're saying doesn't really compute with me. Locals versus OTR. I don't know if that clears up or not, but I'd be interested in your thought on that one, Driveline.
I think he's elaborating to what I was saying earlier with that 750 million.
You think?
I think he's bouncing it off too.
Personally, I think your numbers were a little low, but on a per truck level, I think they were low. But I get the point you were making, and I kind of agree.
I was just trying to get to a point. It's like it's the pennies on the dollar is what I was getting at. It doesn't mount to none. It doesn't mount to anything.
Yeah, John says your math was off a little bit, but hey,
well,
I pointed that out. I pointed that out. I mean, numbers are inconsequential. The fact that the editor pointed out, and this wasn't me, this was the editor pointed out that not a whole lot's been done, and only last minute when they were caught with their quote pants down, according to the editor, they suddenly developed that commission or whatever it was that thing they pointed out. So whether that's true, I don't know. That's
the whole thing. It was I was just throwing numbers out there. I don't know exactly what they are, so I want to clarify.
Well, none of us do. None of us do. But you can't deny. Everybody here has the similar feeling, one way or the other. And not enough has been done with the money appointed. So what's going to change, really? I think that's the overall consensus on this panel. It don't feel like much is going to change.
My whole point was there's more trucks than what the money that they're giving us. That they're. If you were to, like I said, break it down, whatever, it just doesn't add up to. I mean, you got to sit and think of the price of the concrete. You got to think of price of this. You got to think of price of that and everything else. So,
John,
I'm not going on that road.
Really? John, really? Don't get me started on that. He's funny, even in the background. The Traveling Monkey joins us. Hello from Texas. I stopped trucking after 26 years. Trying to adjust to other people's normal life. Still have trouble sleeping without the sound of a truck. Once a trucker, all together now. Once a trucker, always a trucker. So welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. Do become a subscriber. We need people with your experience and your viewpoint. The animal says, don't wait to haul more. Don't want to haul more weight for the same money. Good point. I mean, we didn't really touch on the money part of it, but I wouldn't haul more for less. Or more for the same.
You won't haul more weight for the same money because honestly, I shouldn't say that. On my end, it's different because I get paid by the loaded pound.
Right. Well, you're in a different category altogether. I mean, you're the market you run dictates the fact that pounds, tons, however you do it, is what pays the bills. So.
Yeah, I mean, that's just what it is. I mean, I know a lot of the agriculture. I'm agriculture pretty much.
Yeah.
A lot of the agriculture we get paid by the pound, the ton, or the hundredweight.
Right.
I mean, that's just how it, or the bushel.
Yeah. Depending on if you're doing grain or cargo or grain or beef. Yeah.
So
a couple of more general questions I have. Do you think truckers' issues, i.e. parking, speed limiters, regulations, are treated as afterthoughts because the government sees us as expendable? Put whatever word in place of expendable that you want to put. But what's your view, guys? What do you think is really going on here? Are we a tool, expendable? What do you think? Grumpy, go ahead.
For the last, 20 years, we've been thrown in the mill here. Basically, it's like, we're going to help the truckers out some way, somehow. we don't hardly see what they say they're going to do. That's what I was telling earlier. Let's see it. Actions speak louder. Let's see it.
Yep.
I mean, quit toying with us.
Well, I mean, yeah. I don't feel like they're toying with us so much, but I do feel like more attention needs to be
Wait a minute now. You don't think they're toying with us? My state here destroyed pretty much all the rest areas that were good for trucks that would hold quite a few in them and never have replenished them. You tell me they ain't toying with us.
Well, that's your impression of the state of Oklahoma, but I'm talking about the overall system. I don't think they're toying with us. I think they're doing the best they can with the resources, and the resources aren't much. I mean, does anybody disagree with that? Resources really ain't much.
Well, you know, if they was to give $755 million to each individual state, you know, excluding Texas, because Texas is independent anyhow, then, hey, we might start looking like a lot of what Texas does and start having better roads and everything else, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they speak, but they don't do.
Parking's only a problem if you work daylight hours. What if people staggered their schedule? The money we realize their schedule more, if they staggered their schedule more, they'd realize there's plenty of parking. You know,
okay,
and
I'm going to jump in on that one. He's triggered me.
It's hard to stagger your hours because it all depends on your load times.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not just that. And I guarantee you.
Times too.
My friend over here right next to me, old Larry, will probably agree with me. And I guarantee you, probably Scott will agree somewhat too. Yes, the ELDs have, you know, made it a lot easier for them to keep track of our hours. But I started noticing whenever we stopped doing paper, parking became a little bit more of a predicament because everybody wants to run that clock all the way out, and then they start looking for a place to park. And it's gotten worse. Back when we ran paper, at least you had a chance to stop where you needed to for a little while. Rest, you stopped your clock because you were on paper, and then you could continue on. Now you can't do that.
Well,
am I not right?
Regardless whether you're on paper or ELD, the point John made a minute ago was if you work a standard schedule, you're not going to see that much parking available as if you work a schedule like I do. If y'all want to wonder why sometimes I'm late and sometimes I'm delayed, it's because I work mostly nights when I drive. I take time off and take breaks to do these shows. So I work a staggered schedule because I don't want to fight for schedules or parking. So when I'm getting done at 4 a.m, there's parking available. Do you want to say something, Pate?
I'm just glad John lives in La La Land. That's what I'm gonna say. Second of all,
love hate going on here.
Second of all, I love this industry. This is the reason I say I love it is it's all I know. It's all I've done for my adult life. I feel very confident in it. And what I'm about to say, I'm sure everybody in the panel is going to disagree with. We have way more problems in this country than worrying about the truck drivers. Money should go to education. Money should go to healthcare. You know, if we really broke things down, yeah, like trucking would be at the very bottom of that list of the importance of things that need to get better in this country.
We have a gentleman.
I
didn't mean to cut you off. We have a gentleman in backstage area that, judging by the face, I've never seen. So let's see if we can have somebody who has taken advantage of our StreamYard link and join the conversation. So let's welcome in a fella named John. And introduce yourself, John. Tell us who you are and give us a little idea why you joined the conversation today.
I joined this conversation because I've been in this industry since 1989. I started when I was 21. I'm 56. And basically since 2010, I've seen a lot of changes since Barack Obama got involved. Democrats run the transportation business. They have control of everything. They have control of the freight. They have control of every little aspect, the money and everything on this project. I've seen more accidents since he pushed the e-log system now, and they've been playing around with the regulation and hours of service. And I've seen more accidents in the last 20 years than I have since I started when I was 21.
Wow.
People are being
For
stupid.
how long?
People.
I
I'm 56.
was gonna. Yeah. Sometimes I miss points. How long did you say you were in the trucking industry overall?
Since I was 21.
Okay. And how many years would you put that? 2 decades, 3
35.
decades?
Yeah, something like that. Since about 35 years.
Oh, great. Has it all been
used
one
to be
single
fun.
part? Has it all been one single part of the industry, or have you served in multiple sectors?
I have been in tanker, flatbed, oversized loads, dry boxes, reefers. I've done it all.
Great. Well, I certainly welcome your input because I mean, it seems like you've got a lot of experience to talk from. So, welcome to our show. I'm glad you joined us and gave us your input. Go ahead, Fate.
I agree 100% with what John just said about what. So, like, I don't think the ELDs are necessarily a bad thing if you know how to work them, right? But when it comes to the safety side of it, I don't think it's made us any safer. And the reason I say that, is back in the day, my clock could technically stop as many times as it needed to. Nowadays, it stops once. And then if I get held up at all, that 14 hours is still counting down. Now, I don't have to take as much time off to recoup some of those hours, but it's still, like I said, I've done this 20, since I was 18 years old.
Go ahead, John, and you can in a second. Driving with John, give me an idea what you disagree with, because we talked about a lot here before I noticed your comments. So enlighten me. Go ahead, John.
Back in the day when I first started, it was 8 hours on, 8 hours off, 16-hour rule.
Yep, I remember that.
It used to be every 2 hours you could take a 2-hour nap and keep going every 2 hours if you wanted to.
Right. Okay.
Because I used to run from here to Jersey 3 times a week. You were able to stop, sit down, get a meal, go push on it. Because I did 3 rounds in New Jersey a week from Dunkirk, New York to New Jersey, New York City 3 times a week. I'd stop at Lounsbury, have a meal with the guys I met, go into Jersey, get unloaded, get reloaded, come back the following day, stop at Lounsbury again, sit down, have a meal, and push the rest of the way in.
Okay.
Take a, it was like that. You could take a 2-hour nap.
Okay.
You had 2 hours. Ever since they started changing the rules, they started messing with the drivers. Drivers now you have to push 10, 11 hours and 14 hours. You got the 14-hour rule, you got 11 hours. So you have to try to get everything done in a 14-hour clock or 11-hour clock is try to get loaded, try to get as far down the road.
Okay. 2 seconds, guys.
You can stop your clock. Hold on.
Now you can.
Yeah, what he's saying is 100% correct. Like you could sit down and eat a meal and not feel exhausted. You have to plan to do that now. That's the major difference. You know what I mean? Like,
and that's the whole thing. You didn't have to plan anything. You could just leave whenever you wanted to, get where you had to go, get unloaded, and take your minimum breaks if you weren't feeling good, if you were tired or whatever the case may be, or back or whatever. You could stop for a couple hours and rest. Now you can't. Drivers are getting sicker. You don't even have time to sit down and have a meal. You have to push as far as you can go from point A to point B all week long and try to make up that money that you were missing before.
2 quick things. Thumper, go ahead real quick, and I'm going to get to somebody else who joined the show. Go ahead real quick, Thumper.
Yep. All right, real quick. This is like totally off subject, but I think we need to change the show from Trucking City Media to the John Show.
There's too many Johns there, yeah. Driving with John joins us. I guess you want to personally explain what you disagree with? Let me have it.
Oh, no. I had a chance to come back from La La Land, and I would just like to, I don't think you guys understand. If 3.5 million, by the way, that's how many truckers are on the road. So his math was a little off. 3.5 million truckers are out here. If 3 million of them are parking every single night, that means during the day, there's 3 million parking spots that are available. It's a scheduling issue. It's not a parking issue. It is a parking issue, but I'm just kind of being devil's advocate a little bit. But it is true. If more people worked over the night, there'd be less of an issue.
Whoever Jacqueline M's
keep
channel
following the
is
yellow
joining
brick
us.
road.
Yeah, whoever Jacqueline M is following us on whatever channel, certainly take a moment, come over to truckincitymedia.com, subscribe to us. Welcome to the show. Jacqueline leaves the comment, "You're not the only one out here." I think referring to our guest, John, in the audience. Yasmin saying hi. Welcome to the show. Also take a moment, give us a subscription, a like below. By the way, guys, stick around because when we end this show, typically I go off the air. Tonight, we are going to give you guys a treat that does not normally happen, but we are going to keep the show rolling and have something called the after show. I encourage all of you. This is an opportunity that will only be available if you watch on the live stream. It will not be available on replay. So if you really want to see how truckers think when the cameras are off, stick with us. After the show ends, we'll be back in having more fun than, well, truckers are allowed to have. Anyway, let's continue the conversation. I'm certainly not done. I'm not ending the show right now. Just wanted to make you guys aware of that.
I can't stay in here long, guys. I'm sorry. I have a project I'm working on, and so I just want to jump in for 1 minute. But I did want to say one more thing. If you guys want more regulations, doesn't that go against what you're arguing about?
What makes you ask that?
John,
you know,
hold on.
He's referring to the comment when I said about every state should have the same weight law. That is not another regulation. That is modifying it so they're all equal.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Everything.
Hold on.
A lot of those rules and laws are set up by the states, and the reason why they're set up by the states is because, as Fate said earlier, and I agree with him, the states should have say over their own roads. So I understand it sucks for you, but I don't think the federal government should.
Interstate is a federal deal. So when I'm in North Dakota weighing 105.5 and I have to go into Minnesota and I have to get off of interstate because Minnesota's interstate is only 80,000 pounds. I can pull up my paper and say that's the only thing I'm saying they should change is the federal.
Right, but hang on.
You got a permit.
But hang on a second. So what you're saying is you want the weight limits the same on the interstates, but not the back roads. How are you going to get off?
The state of Minnesota, Fate, you know this one. The state of Minnesota, you can have an overweight permit, but interstate is 80,000 pounds. On the two lanes, it's 97,000.
I think what he's saying, hold on, Poet. I think what he's saying is if you federalize it and take away the power of the states, then there will be, at that point, there will be certain discrepancies with where you can and can't go. That would seriously change things.
Yeah, but then you have the problem is the state's gonna that road's not actually set for 105, 120,000 pound road all the time.
Right. I mean, we got quite a few back roads, state routes, things like that, with potholes and things they blame truckers for. So to that, I understand what you're saying, John. I agree with you on that one. What say you, Poet?
Our weight laws up here in Canada are set right across the country, coast to coast to coast.
So it's not a provincial thing. It's a federal.
It's a federal thing. It is enforced by the provinces. 89,100 pounds. Okay, for a tandem.
Right.
No offense, Poet, but if I wanted to live in a socialist state, I'd move to Canada.
No, I think the point he's making is And tell me if I'm wrong. Funny though. I think the point he's making, and tell me if I'm wrong, Poet, is I think he's trying to enforce what I said earlier with regards to if the limits are federal and some of the controls are provincial. That makes sense. Now translate that down here. It kind of goes to what me and Thumper were talking about a minute ago. If there are federal highs and lows limits, and the states have overall yes and no authority, that I think is where you're going with that, Poet.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Fate.
And sorry.
Go ahead, Fate. Fate next. Go ahead.
So Thumper, I don't really disagree with you, but I, like I said earlier, you're looking at the interstates as like a federal roadway.
Right.
It is in the sense of the name. States are still responsible to pay for them. They get federal funding, but state tax dollars go to interstates, and interstates is what we're talking about. We don't need to worry about state highways here, but those roads are also maintained by the state. They're not maintained by a federal entity. So like, I understand where you're coming from, Thumper, and I don't, like, I'm not saying, like, I have empathy for what you're saying, but I think anytime we give
you agree to disagree is what you're saying.
Yeah, because there is, listen, I've shared this before. You can only give the federal government so much before the individuals or the states lose their sovereignty. Like we should not lose our sovereignty. And we have. I mean, that's the reality. We have. And now we're sitting here.
Yeah, and to that I fully agree. Go ahead, Grumpy. You got to unmute yourself, by the way, brother.
Well, speaking of that, with the states governed to where they take care of their own roads. Now, when it comes to doing the interstates, it's broke down into each county also. So each county has their own part they have to take care of. So they're allotted a certain amount of money to fix these potholes or to actually repair and all that too. So yeah, it's a governmental type thing because each government of that state is responsible to do a certain part.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, look, I gotta go. Can I just say a parting thought real quick?
Go ahead, John. Have at it.
All right. So sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your show and
No, you're not.
Jump in like this. By the way, John, nice to see you on. I hope I see you again sometime. I'd like to know more about you.
Certainly.
So, guys, I really appreciate everybody that watches out there. No matter what channel you're watching on, make sure you go over to Truckin City Media and subscribe because we're trying to get him to 500 by the end of this year. Make sure you tell the guy in the fuel island next to you, tell all your trucking buddies, even the ones that complain about trucking. We want all of them. You know why? Because we're going to make trucking great again, and Boss Man's our leader. Y'all have a good day.
Well, no, John, hold on real quick, John.
Go ahead, Pete. He's still here. Go ahead.
John, make sure you tell Dorothy, the Tin Man, and the Lion as you travel on the yellow brick road in La La Land to subscribe to the channel.
Oh my God.
Okay. Okay, boss. Okay, boss. No problem. I can't help it with my narcissistic ways. You know what I mean? I just can't help it. I'm just a company driver. Oh wait, I'm not a company driver anymore. Darn, I can't say that anymore. All right, well, I can't help it with my narcissistic ways. So
shame on you. Thanks for joining us tonight, Driving with John. I appreciate the kind thoughts.
Thanks, guys.
All right, go back to Oz.
John,
No problem.
John, Driving with John. He's going bye-bye. John, you can stick with us for a minute because we're not quite done yet. When you hear the music, that's when we're done. So I mean, this is a productive discussion, and really, honestly, you can only find here on this show. And the whole purpose of this show is to wake everyone up to the idea that a healthy discussion never hurt anyone. That's what I hope the message gets out and becomes more popular, because it's discussions like this that actually inspire people to think of things differently. And I think change starts with discussion. So I welcome you, John, to a productive conversation. Certainly stick with us week after week. We are all about, on 2 days during the week, We are all about having this healthy discussion on our podcast. You're on right now, Saturdays and Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. It's discussions like this that really do people justice. You know, we might not know all the facts, but it's the people in the audience that watch this show that really make the show possible. So you're part of it. You're part of a good deal.
Here's the thing. Every one of us that been driving for a long time, we know what's going on out here. We see it. We see it day in and day out.
Yeah.
We see the changes on paper. We see the changes in the customers. We see the changes on the roads. We see the changes federally, state-wise, the whole nine yards. And for the longest time, the government, whether it be state or federal, has been douching the trucking industry for a long time. Okay, I live in the state of New York. Okay, state of New York doesn't care for truck drivers. I'll tell you that much right now.
I know that personally because that's where I got my first CDL license back in 2012. That's when I started, and I was in New York for 6 years before I moved out to Tennessee. So my hat's off to you, brother, if you're still there.
Well, I had no choice. I had to move back because I was still.
So that's where you got your first. Where'd you get your second CDL from?
I went from New York to Tennessee, Mariette. Don't make me cuss. Don't make me cuss.
Hey, I remember the days the guys used to have different states throughout, back in the 80s and 90s. They had different multiple
They had the
state
cardboard.
licenses.
They had the cardboard behind them with all their fake licenses on there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember that. I remember reading about that.
And I remember all the stickers on. They'd have a thing of stickers, all 50 states, and bing, 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 bing.
Yep.
Bingo card.
Bingo.
Yep.
Yeah, bingo card.
Exactly.
I was trying to
Bingo
think
cards.
what that was. Yeah. God bless us. I mean, the fact is, I have a slide now. I mean, I'm always saying I'm gonna update the damn thing. I mean, just with the guys on the top line alone, we've got over 100 years. And then we got Driving with John, we got Fate, we got Larry. I mean, so yeah, over a couple of freaking centuries worth of experience just sitting here talking to you guys in the audience. So quite a diverse group of truckers. Yeah, quite a diverse group of truckers. I'm going to try week after week bringing up news footage, news reels, news articles, news that really makes you think and that really matters to the average trucker. So I welcome you in the audience, you on the panel. Stick with us. Do become a subscriber. Do go ahead and check out everybody here that's got social media listed in my description. Check them out. These are all very smart fellas. We all mean well, and all of us together are looking to make trucking great again. John, did you have social media that you promote? Are you on YouTube or TikTok or anything that you wanted to let everybody know about?
Not yet. I just go through YouTube, and that's where I caught this on.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, your experience and your expertise is certainly welcome. Thumper, go ahead, my friend.
Who are you calling smart?
What do you mean?
We all have a CDL.
I don't know. I'm crazy. I mean, I'm crazy enough to go into a trailer with 49 cows, so I don't think that's very smart there.
Thumper, you're a special case, brother. You're just hopeless all the way around.
With that being said, I'll say.
Do stick around, guys, because I may be kind of ending, but this is not the end of the show. All right. If you haven't already, take advantage, take a few moments, go down below, please subscribe. Make sure you stick around because we're going to have something here momentarily called the after show. We definitely want you to stick around for it and definitely continue enjoying the fruits of the labor of this channel and this channel itself. Rumper, any last moment thoughts?
Always, I do. Well, we had a great show. I think we kind of veered off subject a little bit on that one, but it's still.
We always do.
We had a lot of fun. I will admit that. Again, stick around. We're trying something new. Hopefully, it turns out good. And who's ever watching, go over to Trucking City Media. Hit that subscribe button. We're trying to get this man right here up to 500 subscribers by the end of the year. We threw a goal out there. Let's see if we can try to achieve it. And hey, guess what? Thanksgiving's next weekend here in the next week here in the United States. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And Boss Man, I noticed something. You didn't say anything. We are not going to have a show on Wednesday.
I hadn't gotten to it yet. Wrap it up, man.
Oh. I kind of beat you to it. But no. Anyways, so yeah, I guess I kind of beat that. Yeah, we're not going to have a show. So see everybody next Saturday. And God bless America. God bless all the firefighters, EMTs, and police, and everybody who's out there. I mean, let's make trucks great again. Well, you know what? Let's not make trucks great again. Let's make everybody in America great again. That's all we can do. Work together, help each other out. Let's be there for one another. From me and everything, like I always say, we don't do it just for us and our families. We do it for you guys.
Amen to that one. Guys, when it comes down to it, we have the way to find a trustful news source. Become a subscriber. Look for it on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Step to the next week. Stick around for the after show because it's available only on live stream. Again, only on live stream. Don't forget, it's trucks that make delivery. But it's you that makes the difference. Till next time, guys, remember, if it's real, keep the faith. By all means, keep it rolling.